Let's get into it. Good day, good day. So this is a budgeting video. I just do want to disclaim that this template I downloaded online. It's not a template I've created. It's a free template. And also the figures I'm using are fictitious. Please use your own figures. Please adjust it to your circumstances in terms of your expenses and how you go about it. Don't just rely on what I'm saying here. Obviously, everybody's circumstance is different. Without further ado, let's start budgeting. So income wise, I'm going to put 18,000 Rand. This may be less or more than you're earning. Please adjust accordingly. And one thing I forgot to mention about this budget template. I love that it has a projected and an actual. So actual, it would be what you actually spent. Projected is what you think you're going to spend. So this shows you budgeting is not a one-time plan. No, it's an activity that we're going to do. So once you enter the numbers on the projected, once it's payday and you start swiping, you need to come back here and fill in the actuals because this is going to help you budget for your next month. So rental mortgage should roughly be 30% of your salary. Rather try be below it because you don't want to cap it at exactly 30% because it's a lot of money, and it could really help if you're just living a little bit below what the norm is for what you should be paying. Okay, so based on calculating 30% of this 18,000 Rand, the rental mortgage you should be paying should be about 5.4. You don't want to go and cap your 30% entirely. You do want to leave some room for other expenses related to renting or owning a property. So let's try cap this at about 4.8 for rental in this price range. And obviously this is also based on your tastes and what you can find on the market. Sometimes you may not find something as affordable. Sometimes you will find something more affordable. But for the sake of this budget, we found something that is great for 4.8. And then electricity, you'd be paying about 250 a month. And then water, say about 100. Affluent is about 700, depending. And then Wi-Fi, I'm going to charge it at 500. And then your cell phone. So this would be just airtime, just to call without any data usage. So put this at 100, depending on if you actually make phone calls in this day and age. I tend to not need this until I need this. So I do budget about a 50 Rand just in case I need to make calls because there's months where there's sudden emergencies. So you just want to have that just to give yourself wiggle room. And then altogether, this actually puts us at about 6.4, which is above our 30%, but not all these figures are included for our property. So if you had to look at it for only the property, this is just above our 30%, which is a good margin for you because you're not living too vicariously, but you are also not stretching yourself too much. So I'm just jotting down expenses that are fixed here. So these are things that could be debit order, except the cell phone. I just find this is a very much, it depends. But yeah, I'm just jotting down fixed expenses. So these are things that really wouldn't change month to month and you would need to pay them because now it's kind of essential that you have a place to sleep. Electricity, water, affluent just comes with a place to sleep. And then Wi-Fi, it's debatable. If you can live without it, you can live without it. Then the next thing I would do when I budget is my 10%. I'm a firm believer of tithes and offering. So this is based on my religious beliefs. And obviously, if you are not religious like that, also just consider giving. A part of financial freedom is not just about getting and receiving money. It's also about being able to give money and just, help out others out there. And this could be family. This could really be donating to a charity or an organization that you believe in. But for me, this is also this can be both ways. It can be family, it can be an organization, but it also belongs to where I am at church. So this would be 10% for me. This is 1.8 thousand Rand, and obviously this amount depends on you and your beliefs. So yeah, I'm not going to be strict on that. The next big thing is now we're looking at two big categories here. We're looking at food and we're looking at savings. So you will hear a lot of people say pay yourself first, and this essentially means before you start paying those expenses, before you start getting debited, actually invest in your wealth. And this means, for me, this is a couple of things. I've put 3 things here. It's your investments, it's your emergency savings, and it's just a savings for a random day that you may need, because you don't want to touch your emergency savings unless it's an emergency. So you'd have savings just for the smaller or minor issues. In terms of this, I'm gonna put it at like 15% of our income, and 15 is about 2,700 rand. How I would go about this is actually splitting the two. So 2,700, I'd put 1,350 at my investments. Do want to create an emergency fund of about 3 to 6 months of your salary. And yes, here you'd be like, then why don't I prioritize putting more money to my emergency funds? Because obviously the interest rate that your emergency funds is going to grow at is a bit lower than what an investment portfolio would do. So this is just actually looking out for your investment portfolio, because in the long run, your investments are going to outdo that savings. And this is just for emergencies. So, we can build it over time as long as we're doing it consistently. But I choose to do it this way. You can feel free to do it any way you want. I choose to split it between the two. My emergency savings is obviously going to be more than my day-to-day savings until a point where I have reached my 3 to 6 months. Then I would increase my investments and then just like minimize my day-to-day savings, because this could be like, random electricity finished and I didn't expect it. It actually took more than what I was anticipating for the month. Then I'll use my day-to-day savings, or a random emergency happens and now we have to restart the emergency fund. So that's why I'd say now, once you've actually capped your emergency funds, I'd increase my investments and then just like put a little bit to my everyday savings kind of fund just for when I do need it. Anyway, back to this video. So I put 850 here, and if you minus the 850 to get there, you get 500 here. So this is something I would do. Obviously, again, do you. Then food. We need to eat. We need to eat. We need to survive. So part of this is now what you need for your groceries, and this varies. So I did ask on my Instagram and on my TikTok, please tell me what is the average price you pay for groceries, and I got an average between 1.5 for one person and like 3.5 for like a family of like 3. Obviously this varies, so to keep it safe, I'm gonna take the 1.5. So this is 1.5. We are left with 5,000 rand. Money finishes quickly, guys. Money finishes quickly. It's actually insane that if you're looking at this budget, you're like, we are blowing 18,000 rand like that. Yes, it happens. It happens. But that's not the point. The point is we need to make good financial decisions, and we need to also plan to spend our money, so at least we know where it's going and we can account for it. So if we're gonna put our groceries, I'm gonna put our groceries at 1.5, right? And obviously we need to dine out. So I would consider this like your takeaways, but I'm not gonna lie, the economy is expensive. Me putting 500 rand here would have worked as a student. It doesn't work right now as somebody who's working at least the minimum of 700 rand, because I never know, there's days you're lazy to cook. There's days where like I'm in meetings literally from 8:30 until 10 p.m. By the time I get home, there's nothing that's gonna happen. And obviously if you're meal prepping, that may help. There's just so many things. So I would just keep it around just in case. And I mean, if you don't use it, move it to something else. Move it to a more important budget. But this is something for me that I would there. This is personal. It's not necessary. But yeah, I'd put like about 700 rand. It's expensive to eat out. Transport. So obviously you need to get to your job, or you need to go to your business or school, or so whatever it is, you do need to consider the cost of travel. So ideally, if I was in this position, I have a car, it's a second-hand car, and I'm paying about 3.5 for the car, and insurance is about 1.2. So if we're looking at this 18,000 rand budget, it's already maxed out. So if I was in this position, I would honestly consider more public transport to leave room for other stuff and save towards a car. And maybe the everyday savings could be actually something that you're saving towards, like buying a car cash, so that you're not paying the vehicle payment, but you're more contributing to fuel and just the insurance, and that saves you a whole lot of money. But not everybody's privileged enough to have and to be in this position. And if you're in this position, this is your salary and you have to pay all these things and you need a car. It's not to say that it's impossible. You just need to prioritize and be strict. Takeaways is a no-go. Going out money, you just have to say a lot of no's and have people respect your no's. Put in the boundaries, put in the work until you get to a point where life is more comfortable. But in this case, we are taking our taxis, we are taking our buses, we are Ubering, but Ubering could be more expensive than a car. So train, taxi, any form of public transport that could save you money. And for this, I'm gonna put 2,000 rand, and this would be your monthly spend. I don't have an actual value, I'm just putting values here. So obviously, again, cater it to your circumstance. But like I said, if the circumstance is that you need a car and now you're already have one and this is your salary and these are the bills. Obviously, you need to see what you can cut down, maybe move back home, maybe consider sharing an apartment so that your rental is cheaper, your electricity, just ways to save money. That's not what this video is about. This video is about budgeting. So let's continue. Here we've gotten our food, we've gotten our savings, investments, we've gotten our tithes and offering somewhere and we've got housing and transportation. Now these two, the entertainment and the loans or debt, like I said, your situation may differ. If you're in a position where you don't have a credit card or personal loan, great, like please keep it that way. Don't get credit if you don't need it. Really, if it's a real need and things are happening and you need to borrow money from a financial institution, that is a totally different situation. But to get a credit card for the sake of trying to patch up your month, no, rather thug it out until you can afford your lifestyle and consider that as an indicator to actually decrease your lifestyle. Anywho, I like to have a category called me money, so I'm gonna assume we don't have a personal loan, or if we do, it's like 500 rand a month and we don't have a credit card, right? So if we are here, we have about 2.8 left. We have our personal loan, like I said, it's 500 rand, and this could have happened, something happened, life happens, guys, and we're paying it off. This is just to indicate about debt and just to roughly show how you're paying it off. This is just, like I said, fictitious, adjust to your needs. And then obviously now we have like a young 2.3, and I like to call this me money. And the reason I call it me money, because this is the money for me. Like when I swipe shamelessly. When I swipe, I'm excited to swipe because this is where it's at. But of course, 2,350 rand to spend on your needs. So this could be maintenance, hair, nails, clothing, toiletries. Like these are things that are not typically, like if you're doing your groceries, it's just food. But like obviously if you're picking up toiletries, it's just like the basics. But now this is like where you're like, okay, my extra skincare routine. This is where you are paying for anything that is about you. This is going out. This is literally going to spend time with your friends. And I'm not gonna lie, 2,000 rand is not a lot of money depending who you ask. To a student, oh my goodness, I'm a balling. But to somebody who is working, this could vary because the type of events, the type of shows you go, or the type of like places you go tend to be a lot more pricey, and also location matters. Like if you are in Sandton, expensive. If you have more debt, this money, consider putting it towards that. So obviously, if you're trying to like increase your investment portfolio more rapidly, you could put this money towards that. But like this economy is expensive, let's be honest. And even just getting your hair done, nails done, buying those 3 for 2s is expensive. So this might be well for every month, just for yourself, just to take care of yourself. If you're at a point where you're living on a salary and every month you're reliant on your company, you need to think about actually like spoiling yourself just a little bit. And this is not with the entire money. No, this is just to also make it worthwhile doing your job. And sometimes it gets hard. So while we're working towards the point where our money works for us, you do need to have a little bit of enjoyment. But yeah, that's it for me. Have a good one.